This was our most miserable trip into the wilds of New Zealand. You know it. That one challenge keeps pushing back, no matter what you do.
That's Mt Manakau. Looks simple, straightforward, nothing technical, but then boom! It gets steep, fast, hundreds of meters in minutes. Not a surprise.
It's one of New Zealand's 10 ultra-prominent peaks, but it's not the height that gets you. It's the miles, rivers, rough ground.
That endless reach, 2,200 meters up, and that's before the summit. This mountain will blow your mind.
Dreaming of big mountains? This is where you start. It will teach you. Fast, but be careful. It can turn a fun trip into a worst day of your life.
And that's what happened to us. Just a little bit of rain, 0.1 to 0.3 max. Not a big deal, right?
It wouldn't have not been New Zealand if it wasn't raining.
The forecast showed heavy rain later in the day, but according to mountainforecast.com, our main weather source, we had plenty of time to reach Hapuku River hut before anything serious rolled in. And then a fine weather the following day.
We wanted to climb Mt Manakau, one of the popular peaks of the seaward Kaikoura range. This was our goal, and we had a plan. A good plan. Or so we thought.
Are you showing my misery to the whole world?
It was just the two of us, Angelica and I, standing at the Hapuku River car park, backpacks on, fingers crossed, determined to conquer the mountain and meet every challenge it would throw at us.
The first section was meant to be the easy part. No incline, no elevation gain, just a 7-kilometer walk along the riverbed. Boulder hopping, river crossings, but in good weather, nothing too serious. Then comes the hard bit, a steep climb up and over Ravenspur, followed by a short 40-minute tramp up the Kowhai River to the hut.
We had it all mapped out. We landed in Christchurch that morning, picked up our rental, drove north to Kaikoura, then onto the Hapuku River car park. It was Easter Friday, a day that reminds people to carry their cross. And for us, those words were about to become very real.
As we walked along the river and looked up at the hills, something felt off. This didn't look like the light drizzle we were told to expect. It looked like the gates of hell were opening, and we were walking straight in.
Then suddenly the rain came. One moment things were fine, and the next it just wasn't. It wasn't light rain. It felt like a burst pipe in the sky, water just pouring down all at once.
In seconds, we knew. We would never reach the hut like this, and even if we did, everything would be soaked. Tent, sleeping bags, food, clothes. Then we saw it. A massive landslide came down ahead, right as we entered the gorge. This was the final sign. We turned and ran. Soaked, cold, no dry gear, no options. Just one goal: get out fast.
It took us a quarter of the time to run back to the car park. We didn't stop. We jumped in the car, dripping and freezing. With no accommodations available to stay for over 200 kilometers, we drove all the way back to Christchurch.
This was our first meeting with Mt Manakau. It didn't like us, and we didn't like it in return. But it wasn't the end of the Manukau story. It actually was just the beginning.
Weather in New Zealand is a wild beast. Trying to predict it feels almost impossible. It changes fast, it ignores the forecast, and sometimes it makes you pay for being too confident.
Over time, we've learned one thing: never trust just one forecast. We always compare at least 3 weather models before any trip.
One optimistic, like mountainforecast.com, which uses the GFS model.
One realistic, like windy.com or Meteor Blue, which uses ECMWF and NEAMS.
And one pessimistic, usually Niwa, which runs the local NZLAM model for New Zealand's crazy terrain.
If we only listened to Niva, we would probably never leave the house. It always looks bad. But when you compare all three, look at patterns and think carefully, you can often get a rough idea of what to expect.
Still, at the end of the day, it's just often a pure guess.
One day, we came back to Kaikoura, back to the Hapuka River, back to Mt Manakau. Well, by then, we had already climbed most of the easiest peaks of our South Island list. And that Easter weekend? The weather was bad everywhere in New Zealand, except maybe there. Kaikoura looked like our only shot.
So we decided to try again. Same riverbed, same gorge, same mountain that once turned us back. But this time, it was exactly 3 years later. We had a plan, or at least we thought we did.
The morning was grey, a little gloomy. Forecast said light afternoon showers. Then 1.5 days of fine weather, and rain again. We thought it was our window.
So we decided to move fast across the Hapuku up and down Raven Spur, further along the upper Hapuku River and then straight up Survey Spur via Stay Saddle. Some online trip reports suggested we could easily push all the way up to 1900 meters and camp there. That would put us right below Manakau's long summit ridge.
From there, the goal was simple. Climb the rest of the spur, reach the summit, and return to the tent before dark.
Yeah, it's been an hour into the Hapuku River, and as you can see, some smarties got into and cut off almost 4 kilometers of their daily way up into the valley. You just need to have the right type of car in your possession. That's it.
There was just one problem. It was mid-April, and in New Zealand that means darkness hits around 6:30 p.m. No light, no sun, just cold, fast-falling night. Time. We were already running out of it.
Actually, make that 2 problems. Water. We had no access to water from the moment we left the Hapuka riverbed and started the climb towards State Saddle. Nothing but dry scree and ridgelines all the way to the summit. Maybe there would be some snow high up the next day to melt, but that wouldn't help us now. We needed to carry enough water for drinking, cooking and survival, for 2 nights and a full day of intense scrambling.
Easy? It wasn't. And I'll tell you why. Here's the part most people don't know. If you are climbing Mt Manakau outside winter or early spring, when there is little snow, there is no reliable water anywhere along the route. You are carrying every drop. And you are carrying it up through broken terrain, climbing almost 2,000 meters from the base of Survey Spur, where the real work begins.
We were hopeful though. This time we would conquer the mountain. Nothing would stop us. Not the time, not the water, not the memory of last time. We were determined. We had a plan. Well, kind of.
The promised light rain started right on time, just before we reached the foot of the Stay Saddle scree. We stopped to refill all our water bladders and bottles from the river.
It was also the moment to switch gear. Wet shoes and neoprene socks off, dry boots on. The soaked gear wrapped in a plastic bag and tacked under the bush.
Natalie found a tree and he wants to put our wet shoes somewhere behind that tree.
A small ritual we had done before.
Where did this idea come from? Neoprene socks for icy river crossings? From the wise voices of Kiwi trampers before us. We read their trip reports. We followed their hacks. We used this technique years earlier in 2018 while climbing the neighboring Mount Tapuaya or Uyunuku. That mountain, Sir Edmund Hillary's Everest training ground, taught us a lot. That's where we first learned just how brutal New Zealand's rivers can be. Back then those socks saved our feet, and now they were doing it again.
Check out the weather. It's so miserable.
The rain kept rising, but so did our hopes. If we could just get over Stace Saddle, maybe we would break through the cloud line. Maybe we would climb above it all. Kaikoura in autumn is hunting season. As we moved up in the fog, we heard the sounds. Deer calling to each other from the hills. Loud, wild, strange.
We later learned it was mating season. April is a wedding month for deer who are crying out searching for a mate. Nature's weird sound echoing through the valleys. Just before the climb steepened, we met a group of hunters. They were carrying a fresh deer.
These are the guys, 2 hunters, and they just shot the deer.
Its massive head still dripping. They let me hold it for a second. Heavy, powerful, unreal.
It's scary. It is scary.
The rain came hard. As you can see, the rain is really unpleasant. What started as mist turned into a cold, punishing downpour. The scree turned slick, every step a gamble. We were soaked, heavy, drained, carrying 2 days' worth of water uphill, and the mountain wasn't giving an inch.
Must have been 0.01 millimeter of rain. It's raining like it's dumping a bucket down.
It felt like climbing in reverse. Each footstep slid back, our pegs dragged us down, the cold crept in, misery followed.
It wouldn't have not been New Zealand if it wasn't raining.
There's us trying to get to the Stand Saddle. And believe me, nothing like this was forecasted.
We had been here before, 3 years ago. Same area, same feeling, beaten back, and now it felt like the mountain still didn't want us.
We called it, shivering, no chance of getting anywhere. We pitched the tent right there on the Stace Saddle, stripped off wet clothes, crawled into our bags. Hot wood gave a flicker of relief, but doubt had already set in. 5:30 p.m., too late to push. Darkness was an hour away. We had already gained 1,000 vertical meters and covered a long distance. The rest would have to wait.
So we lay in the tent, listening to the rain, feeling cold, small, questioning everything. Above us, a ridge as long as regret. Mt Manakau, still out of reach, almost whispering, "You are not welcome here."
What makes a mountain worth climbing? Not just height, prominence.
Prominence tells you how much a peak truly stands out. It's the vertical rise from the lowest point you'd have to drop before heading up a higher mountain called the Key Saddle. Only peaks that rise 1,500 meters or more above their saddles earn the title Ultra Prominent.
New Zealand has just 10 of them. Climbers know Aoraki, Mount Cook, and Mount Taranaki, but others, like the nameless Skipper's Range High Point, remains unnoticed. Manakau is one of them.
A king in its own range. It's not technical, but it's brutal. What makes these ultras hard isn't just the height, it's the steepness, the remoteness and the distance. Most demand over 1,500 meters of gain in a single day. Manakau does.
Reaching the summit feels like standing on your own island. Nothing higher, nothing louder, just wind, sky, and a mountain that makes you earn every step.
We started early, but it was late. Late for Manakau summit, and we felt it. Even with sleeping gear stashed at stay saddle and our packs trimmed for speed, we were dragging. The summit loomed 1600 vertical meters above, and by mid-morning we already knew we were not going to make it.
The mountain was too big. The ridge was too long, and our pace too slow. It hit hard, but not unexpected.
Manakau doesn't give away summits, and that's the lesson. On peaks like this, it's not always about the summit. Sometimes it's just a summit. One that's higher than your last. One you fight for anyway. That day we found ours, standing breathless with ocean views behind us, clouds far below. But we made a big mistake.
Back at 1100 meters, we kept too low. At around 1400 meters on the lower survey spur, there were two tent-sized platforms, flat and perfect.
Seems like a good spot for a tent at 1371.
Had we pushed just a bit further the night before, we would have bought ourselves hours.
On Manakau, camp high. Always.
The day was scorching. The ridge stretched forever. At 1490 meters, we hit the cracks. The track vanished. The ridge steepened into near vertical grass, dangerous, slippery, and exposed.
We cut left, dropped 5-10 meters into a loose rocky gully below a bare rock face and followed a series of ledges that trace the wall's base. Slow, careful, smart.
We climbed through the last patch of tussock, and suddenly, there it was. The full Manukau massif stretched out before us. Endless, stark, unreal. One thing is to hear how long and brutal the East Ridge is. Another is to see it. That moment shifted something inside us. We didn't speak, we just stood there absorbing it.
Mt Manakau is one of the ultra-prominent peaks, and it's the highest in seaward Kaikoura.
It looked like it went on forever. Ridge after ridge, hill after hill, each high point hiding another behind it. The mountain wasn't just tall, it was layered, relentless. We pressed on.
By midday, we reached a wide scree bowl near the top of Service Spur, just under the 1920-meter contour. You could see people had camped there before, and honestly, it would have made sense. A strategic launch point for a true summit push. Safe, logical, achievable. But our gear was 800 meters below at stay saddle.
Once again, our early decisions narrowed our options. We stood there, staring down that ridge, dreaming about a tomorrow that wasn't available. It wasn't just fatigue, it was the creeping weight of consequence. And still, the mountain was beautiful.
Clouds sat far below, the ocean glimmered to the east, and the ridges rolled in every direction like waves. At 1:30 p.m., we reached our highest point, around 20 to 50 meters, just beneath Survey Peak. From there, we could see the junction of the spur and the East Ridge. We flew the drone, snapped some photos, ate snacks, and stared into the silence.
The summit stayed untouched, but we were not defeated. We started our descent back to stay saddle, quiet, reflective, not broken, just learning. Manakau was still out there, unmoved, watching.
We would return with a better plan, better logistics, more respect. Because some mountains don't yield to force, they ask for growth. And maybe, just maybe, the mountain saw us, two small figures on its shoulder, still figuring it out.
In mountaineering, logistics matter more than muscles. A summit isn't won by strength alone, but by smart planning, clear pacing, and knowing the limits of your team, especially the least strong ones. Without that, goals slip away fast.
One big problem: good info is scarce. Most online reports and videos show the glory, fast climbs, summit shots, hero moments. But they skip the struggle, the gaps, the mistakes. That creates a myth that if you push hard enough, you will make it. Simple.
But that's not that simple, and that's what we try to break down in our videos. We show the full story, wrong turns, setbacks, and what we learned, because that's what helps others to climb smarter and safer.
Manakau didn't give away that time, but it gave us something just as valuable: a clear view of what it takes to return and do it right.